Listener discretion is advised.
As she said, as I was following them, the cartel started speaking to me saying something's going to happen. And I was saying to myself, nothing's going to happen. And we were just going to give her a job as a babysitter. And then when I opened the door, I had an attack. I remember seeing the girl's back, me with a knife in my hand. I remember seeing the two boys, you remember our black and white friends, pulling on my trousers, trying to stop me. And then it happened just like before, her body in the bathroom, the shower on, her body in pieces, and then the meat in the freezer.
Hello and welcome to True Crime, the podcast that helps you find new, emerging, and undiscovered independent true crime podcasts. I'm Greg, the host and curator of True Crime. Today's episode is from Trial by Wine. Schmidty, Sweeney, and Clarky revisit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree on an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. If you like today's episode and you would like to subscribe to Trial by Wine, please check the episode description for links. We're going to get this show started after a quick word from our sponsors.
Begin.
Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmidty, Sweeney, and Clarky visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. All right. How are we?
Great.
What's news?
Great. Oh, do you want to hear a funny story? Or do you want to go through the how are we all first?
No, tell us a funny story.
No, go.
So my sister decided that she wanted to do some family tree work because my dad did some. And so she thought, I'll take it a bit further. So she did some and she sent it through to us. And lo and behold, in there is the surname of... that is the same as Stuart's mum's maiden name.
Thank Christ we didn't have kids.
So we've done a little bit of overlapping of family trees, and it would appear, we haven't got right there yet, but it's a very high likelihood that we're actually related. Going back to the 1700s.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
How fun is that?
I think that's enough dilution of the DNA.
Yeah.
And as you say, you haven't had kids.
Thank
so I'm
goodness.
Sure it's
I
fine.
was so worried.
I know.
Maybe that's
They would have come out
why.
with three
Yeah,
heads.
being a gay couple having kids. Oh, there's enough
Anyway.
stigma attached
Wow.
to it.
There's a good laugh.
Maybe that's why you get on so well. There's something in your DNA. The Swatty, what about you? Have you got any funny stories or anything happened?
No, it's been a bit quiet over here, to be honest. You know, we're heading towards the back end of school term, so it's busy, but, you know, nothing exciting. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
That was
All
very
good.
dull, very dull. You,
Well,
Schmidty, you must
oh,
have
yeah.
kept the news. You just finished your show and...
Finished the show finally, which was great.
Raging
we had a
success.
it was a raging success, and we had the cast party, which finished, I don't know, I think I got to bed at 2:30 or something on Sunday night, on a school night.
Did it start on Friday?
No, it started Sunday, but it ended the way all good cast
Oh,
parties do, with us
2:30 on-
having someone's head in a bucket and managing the vomiting.
Nice.
Oh,
So 2:30 Monday morning, you mean?
Yes,
Yes.
Monday
Gotcha.
night.
Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, right.
And the bucket wasn't a
Ouch.
clothes basket, was it?
It ended up being a sealed
Oh.
clothes basket, because what happened was the original
thing.
bucket that someone else had given this kid had a hole in it. And then when he decided he wanted to get up and go to bed, I said, don't worry. And I lifted the bucket up and all the spew fell out on my feet.
Oh,
oh,
And I was
Schmidty.
like, you've given me the
Oh.
wrong bucket. Luckily, I was quite drunk myself. I was like, I need something that's not this. And then we found something in the laundry that looked like a laundry basket, but it was sealed. And we sent him to bed with friend bucket.
Tell
He
me
needed friend
the
bucket.
person who gave him the bucket with a hole in it was named Henry, and the person vomiting was Liza. And they
No, I won't. I'll keep names out of it, but let's call them Henry and Liza.
Okay. Did they go through that song?
No, there was no songs at that point. There was
dear
a lot of.
Liza, dear Liza.
It was more, I wish I hadn't drunk that whole bottle of whiskey, dear Liza, dear Liza.
Oh, no.
Right.
Yeah, but, all good cast parties end like that. Unfortunately, this time it wasn't me spewing, so I was all good.
And no one broke a leg?
Where to here
No
now,
one broke a
Schmidty?
leg.
Where to now? Do you
Oh,
sort of farm yourself out to other sort of regional productions, or are
Absolutely
you
not.
12
It's
months
retirement.
now waiting for your next production?
I'm semi-retired. I want to focus on Trial by Wine.
Ooh.
The
That's where my
musical.
The musical. That's where the energy needs to go.
This
now.
will be able to be made into a musical because we've been working on Trial by Wine World.
That would be
There's an entire-
hilarious.
There was
There's
always
so
a big
much.
business strategy at the back of it. We've got our theme park. We're
Mhm.
going to have a musical.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, we've got it all happening.
And of course, your
Um,
array of
and
cert
then-
threes. You need to work
Yeah,
on
oh,
them.
My RTO, Trial by Wine, the RTO. Oh, there's a lot to be done. So yes, I'm parking amateur theatre for a little while. I've also, as I think I've talked about before, getting my hip replaced. So that'll take some time to recover. And so I don't think I can do. It's quite physical doing the musical direction and stuff. So I don't think I'll be fit to do it for a while yet.
Once you get your hip done, how many times is too many to call you Eileen?
Eileen now.
Oh.
I should be going straight by the time I've got it done.
Oh,
I should be standing
God.
better. I'm more Eileen now, yeah. So you could call me Eileen now. Let's start that now.
okay. Do you know how to say Eileen in Japanese?
Irene.
Terrible joke.
All right. Okay. Who are we? I'm Schmidty.
I'm Swanee.
And I'm Clarky. And together we are
Trial
Trial by Wine.
Bang on.
Beautiful. And what are we drinking?
Oh, well, I'm going to... Hey, Carla, let's play a game. I'll guess what you're drinking, and then you guess what I'm drinking.
I'm going to destroy that with I don't even have a Diet Coke. I have nothing with me currently.
What?
I'm dry. I know. I just was
Oh.
racing up here to get sorted. So
Oh, I would have put
let me
money.
guess. I think you'll be drinking a lovely glass of wine, but I don't know if it's going to be.
Your skills
I don't know
are
what
amazing.
sort. Is it from a local vineyard?
It
certainly
is.
is.
Yeah, yeah. It's from
And it's in our-
Indigo.
Is it in your Trial by Wine? It is.
Yeah,
Do one of our glasses?
it's from Indigo
3 for 3.
Vineyard.
Valley.
It's a 2018 Roussanne.
I don't even know what that is. What does
Oh,
that
it's
mean? Is it just
delicious.
a white?
It is a white. Yeah, yeah. It's a little bit like
don't know
a
that word.
shardy. It's a nice flavour.
I do feel like I need to sort of update
Branch
everybody
out a bit
again
more?
on my no, not so much. There's a whole part of my life that's missing. I used to drink bucket loads of wine, certainly when I was younger, I can't drink it at the moment in my current
In your
nasal situation.
circumstance.
Well, I can't
Yeah.
smell it for starters. It just doesn't work. But when you talk about it, it sounds quite romantic, and the fact that you can smell it and enjoy it, I'm quite envious. But there was
And
a
when you-
time that I
love that
did.
It's romantic.
But I don't know, it was very romantic when I was drinking it in pubs with the biggest glass they had, and you could actually see like the histamine floating around in it. I remember that in London, getting to the pub and be kind of warm. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll have
yeah.
a Pinot Grigio, please.
Doesn't sound romantic the way you put it.
It wasn't
Your
terrible, and it was
finest.
never romantic the next day with me. I always struggled. I always
No,
suffered.
when you drink so much that Liza hands you the bucket, you know
Yes.
that there's nothing romantic about
Yeah.
that.
What about you, Schmidty? What are you on today?
Oh,
It does look
well,
nice. I've seen what you've got, but I just couldn't quite tell what it was. Pimm's, maybe?
No, CC and dry.
Oh,
So
lovely.
Canadian club, but 12-year aged stuff, the good stuff, and some
Dry ginger ale.
it's not dry, something like that.
Correct.
Fever Tree ginger beer, actually. There you go.
Oh, yum. That sounds good too.
Mm,
Delicious.
That's something I've only
so
really
not
got
from
into
the
this year is
can.
ginger beer.
Not
I like
from the
ginger beer
can-
now.
Not from the can.
She's even got a glass.
And also with fresh lime from the garden.
I
There
know,
you
it looks
go.
very
Oh,
sophisticated.
Indeed.
It's a very
Mm.
different image than the cruiser, I'll be honest.
It
It's,
is.
Yes.
it's telling me a different
Very
story.
romantic.
I will be moving on to the cruises because I've run out of the CC after this. But
Oh.
I was saying to Clarky before we started, I don't have COVID. I've done 3 rat tests in 24 hours, but I don't feel quite myself. I think it's probably just
darling.
tiredness. It's like I've got something that wants to get me. And I thought there's nothing that will solve that more than a good couple of shots of whiskey or brandy. So,
Oh, yeah.
and,
Sure.
Agreed.
and I know I often sound quite husky, but my voice is a little bit huskier than usual at the moment. So you can enjoy my sexy
I totally
tones.
agree with that approach. It's one of those things that when you're feeling like you're getting something, sometimes go
Burn
hard on
it
the
out.
spirits, and it
Mhm.
either absolutely works or it doesn't. But sometimes I'm sure that it has absolutely worked. I do that
Yeah.
sometimes with vodka and stuff. Again.
You say something like that.
My dad had a remedy for, I can't remember if it was colds or fevers,
Yeah.
but he used to say you cook up white wine with sugar and bay leaves and cloves.
Mm.
And you drink that like a hot toddy just before you go to bed, and it makes
Yes.
I think it must have been for fevers because it makes you sweat it all
Wet it
out.
all out, yeah.
He swore by that. I mean, he was Hungarian, so God
Yes.
knows where he got that from. Probably peasant world.
Sorry to all our Hungarians.
That's all right. Look, I knew my father very well. It's okay for me to call him a bit of a
Yeah,
I
that's
think that's not a
right.
bad
Yes.
idea. Could we introduce that as the drink in Peasant World?
Mm.
We can have like the hot toddy sort of like stand.
Yes.
Come and get your hot,
Mucky Villy's hot toddy. Yeah.
Oh,
There you
yeah,
go. I like
nice.
it.
Okay. Well, shall I tell us a story?
Please do.
Well,
Have you got one?
yeah, of course I've got one.
Oh, phew.
This
that's
is
a relief.
exciting because this is our first ever fan pick.
Oh.
That's right.
Do we have fans?
We have some fans. We have a couple who have actually reached out to me. This story, at first I thought, I'm not sure if it's got enough legs, but as I did some more research in it, it did. So let's call our fan Kitty Cat. And she sent me this story and she said, I think you'll like it. In fact, her exact words, Clarkie, were, it's right up your alley. And I don't
My alley or your alley?
My alley.
Is it?
I don't believe we had released the episode where you carried on about my alley being a euphemism. So I think she just meant it's something that I would like as
It's
opposed
not
to.
literally up your
Right.
alley.
Correct. So as I said, it was a short article, but I just thought I'll do a bit of research into it because I want to do it justice. What are you laughing?
Is it from Lad Bible? It's a short article. But then I thought I should look into it.
No, and then
more.
I thought I'm going directly to the Smithsonian to see what they've got to say.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's
I got-
Schmidty's second stop every time.
I
I'm off
got
to-
out my
I'm off to the
1980s.
Smithsonian, off to the library to do some work. Well, you and
got
I
my
are busy on Lad
1980s
Bible going,
volumes of Encyclopedia
yeah,
Britannica.
I'm on Lad Bible and Wikipedia going, is there enough? Not Schmidty, she's
Yeah.
off to the Smithsonian.
Dust the dust off
Yeah,
the
books.
books and the volumes.
I tell you what, I didn't go to the Smithsonian because it's a bit too new, this story, I think, to be covered by it. So,
What?
but my sources are news.com, thesun.co.uk, dailymail.co.uk, thecrimebrazil.com.br,
Oh,
and my favourite
Brilliant.
one, thecannibalguy.com.
oh God.
Oh,
Yes.
no. Have you got
Bring
a
it
cannibal
on.
right up your alley?
Yeah, it's a bit of a spoiler, isn't it? But yes, this story is about some cannibals. So
We need to get that
Goodness,
song.
yeah. I
I
eat
eat
cannibals.
I
Balls.
kept thinking about the Savage Garden song. You know the
Which one?
misheard
Yeah,
lyrics.
Animal
I
song.
wanna live like cannibals. The whole
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time I was reading on it, I was like, why would
Hairless and free like
cannibals?
cannibals.
What a stupid song. Was that I
No,
wanna live like
animals,
No, but
animals.
that's,
I wanna
that,
live like
I know, that's what I'm saying.
animals.
That's stupid. No offense, Savage Garden, but I was never a fan.
Okay.
Oh, I am.
Really?
I bet they're cut.
Mm.
They're cut, Carla. They're cut.
Oh,
I
Um,
had to hide the Savage Garden CD on Stuart once.
When we lived in Perth.
Because
Thank you.
every day, over and over,
I
it got
never liked
played.
them. I don't know why.
Brilliant.
I don't know.
I don't know where
huge
it is,
the US,
honey.
Just melted it down.
It's certainly not where I last put it. Sorry, Schmidty. You've
Right
got a
up your
story
alley.
to tell.
No, you're okay. You're okay. We good?
Yep.
I'm
I feel
sorry.
like I'm
Are
gonna
you
say that.
when you lifted your glass
We're
up with your
started
glove?
already.
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to have a sip of my drink or you were going to keep talking. Okay.
But
We're
we're
Continue.
okay. We're okay. Are you good? Let me tell you about cannibalism because
You won't be after this. Yeah.
One more interruption.
Yeah, I'm going to come around there and I'm going to eat your head. No, just joking.
Oh.
Look, I got to tell you, I was quite amazed at how many cannibal stories there are, though. So I went off on a bit of a tangent, as you know I want to do. So I've got a bit of a back catalogue. I wasn't sure if I'd have enough for one story. It turns out I do, but I will revisit some of these because some of this stuff is fascinating.
Fascinating.
Anyway,
Sounds
our
like
cat-
my
It is fascinating.
my Woody listen didn't do that date, Janelle. It's fascinating. Cannibalism.
Oh, my wordy. Yes, indeed. Our fan, Kitty Cat, happens to love trivia and she tolerates musical theatre. So I'd like to play a little trivia game that I know both of you will really enjoy that brings together trivia and theatre.
Great.
Ready
Can't
for it?
wait.
Yes.
Yeah. Do we need buzzers?
What? What musical production features cannibalism as a major plot line?
Swanee. Swanee's name
No
was said
idea.
first. You've got to get it.
I'll give you a clue.
It'll have to be a pretty big one.
Film starred Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter.
Edward Scissorhands.
A little later in his
No,
catalogue.
it's something in England, isn't it?
Yes, like based in London.
I can picture it, but
Fleet Street Demon.
Yes,
Thing.
that's it. If you're close, yes. Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney
Yeah,
Todd.
See, I was all over that.
That's a musical.
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd. His skin were pale and his eye was odd. He shaved the faces of gentlemen who never thereafter were heard of again. He trod a path that few have trod. Did Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. There you go.
Oh,
Never heard it, but well done.
bravo!
That could be.
I'm surprised they didn't give you a run on the Oscars on Monday.
That could be a song that features in Trial by Wine, the musical. I think it would fit
I
right
think
in.
so. So our old mate Sweeney
Yeah.
was a fictional barber who lost the plot one day and killed one of his clients. And downstairs, he had this lovely landlady who ran a pie shop. And she thought it'd be a great idea
To cook them up.
Oh.
to cook them up in the pies. That's right.
What is it with you?
Oh.
It vastly improved the pies because this is fictional, so don't get too upset.
I didn't remember
But
that.
there is a song.
No, neither did I.
It's a song at the beginning of the show that's these are the worst pies in London, and later on they're the best pies in London because they're full of people. Well, mostly men actually.
What
You had
about
it in
Greg's? Maybe that was someone they put in there.
No Sopranos?
I didn't know it was named after one of the Greg's.
100% Greg is,
Yeah,
is
that's
the
it,
ingredients
Greg,
list.
yeah.
Delicious. They were really good pies. Sweeney was in London, but the reason
Hang
I'm
on a
talking
minute.
about
Tell
Sweeney
me this
Todd-
isn't your story. If you've just said it's fictional,
no.
and then you're going to tell it as your story.
Well, I was just about to explain that.
Sorry.
Whilst Sweeney was in London,
Yes.
the tabloids labelled this next bloke, our protagonist, the real life Sweeney Todd. So that's the
Right.
connection.
Right.
Okay.
Hang on. Which came first?
Sweeney Todd.
And then the real life Sweeney Todd was a copycat.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What period of time are we talking, Schmidty? Last 10
Period?
years or so? Yeah.
Oh God, that's an excellent question. Yes. Yes.
Surely the
Sweeney Todd's a
sun
movie,
will over
right?
it.
No, it's not a movie. Last 10 to 15 years. I'm not talking about Sweeney
Oh.
Todd. I'm talking about something that's a little bit different to Sweeney Todd. But the
Yeah.
story I'm talking about happened in the last 10 to 15 years.
Wow.
But the you know what the press are like. It's like the clown
No,
guy.
tell
You know,
me.
like they just like to say shit to make it to
Yeah.
sensationalize it. And they
Of course.
sensationalize this by calling him the real Sweeney Todd.
Okay.
So that was my little musical connection. I am going to explain to you that I'm drawing on an article by a guy called Matt Roper in some of this, which appeared in the mirror.co.uk and is also referenced along a lot of other news outlets. But what he did was, and this is why I'm explaining it up the top, is he actually interviewed the key protagonist well after he was sentenced and in jail. So some of what I'm going to say is actually
Post-event
post-event, but it's the actual testimony of the
of
cannibal
Sweeney.
and murderer, whose real name is, I looked up how to pronounce what I thought was Jorge in Portuguese, and it's actually like Jorge. So not Spanish, Portuguese. This will make sense in a second.
Good.
So Georgie, I'm going to call him because I'm not going to do Jorge all day.
Oh, Gary. Same.
And Gary Beltrao Negromonte del Silveira was born in Recife, the son of Portuguese immigrants who had moved to Brazil from Coimbra in Portugal when his mother was 3 months pregnant with him. So this story is set in Brazil.
Right.
Thus the Portuguese. He was the youngest of 4 brothers in a respected, well-to-do family. His father was a lawyer and his mother a university professor. At the age of 7, his parents sent him to live with an aunt to complete his schooling in Portugal because they thought he would get a better education there. And he returned to Brazil when he was age 12. So he was in Portugal for 5 years. 2 of his brothers went on to marry Brazilians and still live in Brazil, while the other returned to Portugal and basically cut off ties and lost contact with everyone. Georgie, who's 5 years younger than his closest brother, admitted that he had few friends and spent most of his time talking with the 2 young boys, one who was black and one who was white, in the backyard of his
Did
house.
he say that the friends he had were delicious?
He explained Except these two boys didn't exist.
Oh.
For me, they were completely real. But when my dad asked who I was talking to when I went to the backyard, I realised no one else could see them. My father was worried and tried to find help. My dad thought it was spiritual and took me to a spiritualist centre to try to cure me. Later, a doctor diagnosed me with schizophrenia. And as a side note, there is absolutely no evidence that he was ever diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Oh. Well, that's a contradiction.
Correct. In 1984, Georgie met Isabel Cristina Pires, who was born and raised in Recife, Pernambuco. But unlike Georgie, she didn't hail from lofty academic circles. Isabel had a very difficult childhood, being born into poverty, which meant she didn't complete her schooling and was illiterate. Once Georgie had graduated from his studies in physical education, the couple married and moved in together. Days after the wedding, Georgie had a violent outbreak that made Isabel run away to a neighbour's house to shelter and protect
A
herself.
violent outbreak of herpes?
Crazy. Crazy.
Oh, violent outbreak.
Georgie was seized by an uncontrollable rage that made Isabel afraid of him from then on. According to Georgie, these outbreaks were common since childhood. He was taken by an uncontrolled rage. In addition to having two imaginary friends who told him to do things he didn't like, he then would have these episodes that became later known as a fight with these friends. So he had this mad fight with these invisible people.
So had he attacked his wife, or he was attacking the other people that he
just went nuts? I think he
Okay.
just went into an uncontrolled rage, went quite crazy, and she was like, I'm going to the neighbours because you're scary.
Okay.
He was in the backyard of his house and he told these friends, the two imaginary boys, to leave. And they insisted on staying. And then his father showed up and he asked his father, said, get my friends away, but because I don't want them anymore. And the father said, there's no one here, weirdo. So the
Is that really what his father
wedding
said?
out. Well, no, I'm
Is that a bit of trial by
I'm making shit up.
fact there?
I don't have a direct quote
Okay.
from the father,
Happy to-
but words to
happy to
effect
go
of,
with
there's
it.
no one
Just
here.
check
It was that in Portuguese.
Yeah.
Get your weird ass inside.
Yes, in Portuguese, but my Portuguese isn't very good. All I can say is obrigada.
Obrigado.
Thanks, weirdo.
And get out, you two boys. Oh, they're already gone.
Over the back fence.
Oh. The post-wedding outbreak passed, and Georgie and Isabel were enjoying married life. I think you'll enjoy this next bit. Now, I've heard the term relationship goals. I think it's a younger generation thing. But you get the gist. People who are like, oh, you see a couple and you
I
really
hope we can insta like
Aspirational.
they can.
yeah, you're
Correct.
absolutely. And so, you see these people who are connecting nicely, sharing experiences and hobbies. This couple were absolutely crushing it in that regard. One of their favourite pastimes was creating horror films in which Georgie was part of a sect called the Cartel and appears worshipping death and Satan. Now, look, to be
What?
fair, they were married in the 80s, right? And video cameras, remember, were quite expensive and a new thing and quite exciting. I know, they were massive. And as a kid, we used to make films, but we generally were dancing to the soundtrack of Oklahoma and pretending to be in a stage musical. We weren't generally doing death
Making
and Satan.
snuff movies.
That's right, but to each their
Recently
own.
there.
Yeah. Isabel pretended to be a maid in the movies and was murdered by Georgie and buried in the backyard of the house. Not in pretending. This is pretending.
Excellent acting.
But
She's been
not
under
before
for
he'd
6
eaten her
weeks.
eyes.
Fun time.
What?
And apparently you can see...
Is that bit acting or is that for real?
No, I'm.
all acting,
Oh.
all play.
Thank
Just
Christ.
play. All fun and
Shits
games.
and giggles. at this
Shits
point.
and giggles. That's right. This is
So
them having the best
Frickin',
time, living their best
frickin' hoot
lives.
at their house.
Absolutely. If you want to go and do these strange films, go
Can I come
right ahead.
over? No, thanks.
I tried to look these up because apparently they are available on YouTube, but I
Oh.
wasn't allowed to because I don't live in Brazil. So next time I'm in Brazil, I'll check it out. For years, Georgie was a respected teacher of karate and physical education. And about 12 years after his marriage to Isabel, he met Bruna Cristina Oliveira de Silva, who was a 16-year-old karate student. Around the same time as meeting Bruna, coincided, I'm not sure, Georgie told his wife he no longer fancied her.
Right.
And that their relationship had become less sexy and more about friends or even She was even a bit of a mother figure to him. I've got to say, to be fair, if you see photos of her, she didn't age that well. Not that I'm saying that I justify his behaviour, but still.
But you kind of
She did
are.
look quite old.
You're not casting aspersions.
No. The weird thing is she's younger than, I'm pretty sure she's younger than him, but if you see photographs, she does look about 15, 20 years older than him. She just
That's
aged
fair
badly.
enough.
She had a tough time. I told her she had a tough upbringing. They waited, they were respectful, they were good people. So when Bruna turned 18, because they had to wait for her to mature, she moved in with
They had to
Georgie.
wait for her to mature. My God, what a horrible
That
phrase.
was my words. Sorry, that I said that. I said that.
Goodness.
That wasn't actually in anything, but I'm assuming that they had to wait for her to be legal, perhaps.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Okay, so she moves in. Now, Georgie had wanted children, and unfortunately, and so did Isabel, by the way. And unfortunately, neither Bruna nor Isabel were able to conceive. Assuming the problem was everyone else and not them, all three of them really started to get very angry and hate on young or single mothers who felt they were unfairly able to produce lots of kids.
Really?
And
When you say all three of them, like, is there still
the young girl
relation-
as well. Yeah, no. So it's like it's not a menage a trois. It's more
A mum and two kids.
Georgie is. It's almost like Isabel, who's the
Yes.
wife,
Yeah.
started to behave more like a sister to her husband, and this younger girl. She tolerated the younger girl. It's all very
Oh.
open.
They all live together.
Yep, 100%. Yep,
Fair enough.
yep. All of that I can live
The
with. It's
threesome
what
that
happens
stays
next.
together
I can't.
kills together.
Yeah.
That'll...
Well,
And they all ate at the same table.
funny you should say that. And they did, Clarky. And they did. They all hated these young women. I think they were surrounded by a lot of women who were young, poor,
They're like
producing
in Nappy
children.
Valley.
Yeah, but yeah. I think it was
Yeah.
just there's a bit of a socioeconomic
No, but
condition
it's fair
happening
enough
around
to
this
be
too.
so
Yeah,
jealous
yeah.
that you hate everyone who has what you don't have. That's one of the... How many deadly sins are there, Schmidty?
That's what jealousy is,
How many-
isn't it? 7.
7.
But that's
That's
yeah.
one of them, isn't it?
15, I don't know.
I had no idea. I was going to say 12, but
I was like 10 commandments. How many sins?
Yeah.
Yeah, 7.
12
Um,
12 apostles, 10 commandments, 7 sins. Gosh.
They just do it for
so
like alliteration purposes, like
confusing.
7 sins.
So where does
44
Machu Picchu
years.
Why
fit
don't they
into
just
that?
say 40 days
It
and
was
40
6 or
nights?
7.
40 days and nights in the
40
desert,
nights.
40 days and nights of flood. Yeah,
Flood.
we've got a
All
whole
over it.
pattern of numbers. Anyway,
It's so good for math.
can we on this occasion not bring religion into it, please, Clarky? You just
that
can't
wasn't
help
in a
yourself.
disrespectful way. I was literally looking for guidance, which
Oh,
I know
you
that
seem
you're
a bit-
full of.
You're obsessed. Anyway,
I am. I
Um,
literally am. Sunday is not enough for me.
okay. So, in his own words, Georgie recalled Isabel lost one, then another. So we went to the doctor and she started treatment. But I don't know what they did because after that, she didn't even get pregnant again. And then you look around and there are people everywhere, uneducated people, but they're producing them one after the other. They don't have anything of worth to pass on to them. They can't even speak Portuguese properly. It disturbs me to hear people speaking incorrectly. For the government, the more ignorant people there are, the better. But I don't think it's right. They need to be stopped. They're just producing thieves and lowlives.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Oh, as I said, he wasn't very happy about the state of
No,
things.
but like, really? That's where you go with that? God.
I'm not justifying him.
Flog. Is he still alive?
Yep.
Good. I'm going to write him a letter. He's in what's his name? Elaine Page? Is that the
Elaine Page Correctional
Yeah, is that the
Facility,
one that we spoke about a few episodes back?
as opposed to Rikers?
Yeah, yeah.
There's an Elaine Page Correctional
That's where he
Facility.
is.
Yeah.
Which story? That was one of my
Yeah, it
stories.
was.
Wasn't it? I
That's
can't
where he is for
Mm.
sure.
But what story was it? I can't remember.
He's,
Was that with John Wayne Gacy in?
I can't remember.
He was in
Someone
it.
was in Elaine Page. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It could have even been
And I don't mean Tim Rice.
It could have even been the camouflage assassin with Reggie.
Okay, so as luck would have it, they met a young homeless woman named Jessica and offered her a
Oh
job.
no, as a baby maker?
No, she'd already made one. Jessica had a 1-year-old daughter at the time, and being given a roof over her head and a job was a godsend for her. She was homeless. So she lived with them for a
Did
few
she
months.
wake up every morning just to do her hair now? Because she can, yo. Her day wouldn't be right without her makeup. She's never had her makeup. And she stands there
Singing for money. Because she's homeless.
That was a long build up to
I
get
know,
to that point,
sorry.
wasn't it? And you realise that somewhat in, and you went, God, I've still got to do the whole thing. Before I, get
I
to
probably
that
should have
part."
won to skip a feud and gone straight to the chorus.
Crystal Waters there by Clarkey.
I didn't recognise it all until the end. I was like, oh,
Yes.
okay, right.
That's because I sing out of tune, not because you didn't know the lyrics.
So Jessica lived with them for about 3 months, but she did notice in the daily routine that her daughter was only on Georgie and Bruna's lap, and they took turns to take care of the baby, and they started to not let Jessica stay with her own daughter. During this time, Georgie took her to the city's registry office to register himself as the father of the child.
Oh,
He said, we all fell in love with her baby. I would buy everything for her. Milk, nappies, her cot. She was like a daughter to me. But Bruna was jealous of her. She kept telling me it wasn't good for her to be there. That's when she started telling me to stop taking my medicine, that I was normal. I needed to be a man and be stronger. So Jessica had noticed the strange obsession with her daughter and had decided to call it quits. In May 2008, she told Georgie and his ladies that she was going to move back to live with her family, taking her daughter
Don't
with
tell
her.
them, just go.
From a later interview, exactly, Georgie described the ensuing incident himself. I went into her room to try to convince her to stay. I was already starting to have an attack and to see the shadows. Bruna came down and I remembered her telling me, she can't go, she's a bad person, she has no love for her daughter. After that, I only remember flashes. Blood spurting from her neck, her lifeless body in the bathroom.
Quickly. Jesus.
Her lifeless body in the bathroom, and then her in pieces on the bathroom floor.
No.
I only woke up the next day, and everything was already clean. The baby was in her cot. Belle and Bruna had cleaned everything. They had buried her bones in the backyard.
How do these people find each other?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
Tinder?
Tinder.
Swipe right.
Murder? Is that...
Murder.
I asked, where's Jessica? And that's when Bruna said, don't you remember? We had to execute her so she wouldn't take the girl away, and you were the one who did all the work.
Jesus.
I remember seeing her clothes and weeping. I prayed to God, my God, I've broken a great commandment. Forgive me for everything. What do I need to do?
Oh, nothing, mate. You're all right.
Eat her.
Eat her, yeah.
Yeah, well,
She's in the fridge.
Georgie claims he had no idea that he had chopped her up and entirely stripped her body of flesh and stored it all in the freezer.
Oh, come on.
That's a big job if you're not a butcher. Surely that's a massive
Also, there's
undertaking.
murdering because you want to keep the baby. What's all the other bit about?
I know, that's sick.
Here we go.
Oh, no. Glad
Strap
I
in,
asked.
everyone.
Oh.
So as you said, yes, that all escalated quickly. You could surmise it was just a way of disposing of the body, but no. Young Bruna liked to dabble in that old-time practice of black magic and had read somewhere that in order to purify yourself of the sin of murder, you had to eat your victim.
No.
She'd read somewhere.
It's a logical conclusion to come to, I'm sure.
Oh, I know where she read it. I'll tell you where
Wikipedia.
she read it in a minute.
The Sun.
Yeah, Wikipedia.
That'll do, yep. Lad Bible.
I thought they were so desperate to have a child, it might have been what to expect when you're expecting. And it's like things to do, things to wrong. Don't let it get you down. If you accidentally murder someone because you're jealous of them having a baby, here's what to do.
Yeah, step-by-step guide.
Oh,
What
goodness.
to do?
Well,
Pop them
one
in the
might
freezer.
call-
Cannibalism for dummies?
One might call this a form of transmogrification.
What is that?
Not me.
Yeah, 100%.
never heard it.
I will not call it
I would
that.
not have called it transmogrification.
I knew both of you would respond so well to that.
Oh, you
Yeah,
let
please
us
don't
in
tell us
and
what
you
it is,
know.
though. Just continue as if we all know.
Yeah, just keep going. Yeah.
I wasn't going to. I did assume you probably would know what it is.
No.
It all just means the definition of transmography, it says to change or alter greatly and often with
it's-
grotesque or humorous effect.
It's botched, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
I guess
botched
it
was
is.
going to be called
Yeah.
transmogrification, but then I realised no one would know what it meant. So they went with botched.
It will always be called transmogrification for us
That's
now.
right. Botched. A story of transmogrification.
We can go through a long path of judgment, which we started to on botch just then, but I appreciate that. But ritualistic or medicinal cannibalism has been around for thousands of years.
Doesn't make it right.
No, but I was going to say, if you don't believe me, spend a rather grotesque few hours reading stories about it, which is part of my back catalogue, and I'll be bringing that back to us later
You're
on. Not today.
Gross. You're gross.
I am gross. I am
No,
gross.
but you are gross.
Human fat. I know. I'm just, I know. Human fat was used as a balm. So you remember the rendering down that you all were
We
seeing
know
us
that
by?
this is your set 3 in soap making.
No, I'm not making soap. I'm making a balm. So I'll
That's
render
why
that
it's
fat
right
down
up your
and then I can wipe
alley.
it all over you.
Like a lip
'Cause you're-
balm.
Just like this,
paw
which
balm.
is paraffin oil.
That's what's under your
Same
bloody
thing.
glove, isn't it?
Yes.
Paraffin oil. That's right. Yes, same
And
thing, except made of my own blubber.
Should we be worried?
Yes, and it's been.
No,
has
no,
it been
no.
up your alley?
The paraffin oil is made of paraffins. Don't worry.
How many
Anyway,
paraffins does it take to make a tube of paraffin oil?
I'm not sure. Bones. If you can grind up bones, usually skulls.
Why
and
are we
things like
doing
that,
this?
to treat epilepsy. All I'm saying is that it is, because cannibalism and people using bits of people is not new, right? So this is something that human beings have been doing for a very, very
Stop
long
it.
time. There's tons of archaeological evidence
Stop
of
it.
this, and even in our own times, if we weren't already grossed out enough, Clarky, get ready for this one. Even in our own times, I know that some people will eat their own placenta, they produce when having children, or use their own menstrual blood
Oh,
in
move
ways
on.
that totally gross me out. But there
Move
you
on.
go.
Wow.
The placenta one's very common, and they can change the structure of it into like tablets and stuff. They
And
can do all sorts of things.
is it
It's
true-
supposedly amazing for you.
Is it true they can put it in tea cakes?
Is it full of iron? What's amazing about it? Is it just so full of nutrients?
Well, it is
because it
'cause
was
it fed a
feeding the
baby.
baby.
And
Unless
something
you've
like that,
got
so-
tea cakes, hun.
You'll often. I mean, I think it's the kind of thing that you'd see on Instagram now, where
yeah.
mother who's
Yes, you
some
can
girl
make
Yeah,
tea
I
cakes.
do stuff.
I was
with-
attacked by my
We
placenta
should
and I had to
try
eat
by
it.
one. Try by one offshoot. We have to ask people to donate their placenta so we can make tea cakes out of
Oh,
them. And sell
God.
them.
I was thinking more a lad Bible story. I was attacked by my placenta and the only way I could fend it off was to eat it.
Oh, ugh.
Surely
Stop
that's
it.
on
I mean,
Lad
I know I
Bible.
brought it up, but it's just disgusting me. On that note, can I pause for a moment so I can have a wee?
Yeah.
Could I just quickly run you through a quick list of what are the benefits of eating placenta?
Yeah, please do.
No,
I can't
thanks.
Increased energy, which is beneficial in combating postpartum fatigue, increased milk supply, improving movement in mood, reduction in insomnia, prevention of anemia, reduction in postpartum bleeding. I'm not sure that is any of that.
So
true.
this is all about mothers
It's
eating
on the
the
Mayo
placenta.
Clinic's website. Eating the placenta,
Right.
Be
a good
massively
idea.
high in iron.
It's also like it actually happens
It's just
all
blood.
the
Have a
time
black
in
pudding.
the animal world.
Exactly right.
So it's like it's completely normal.
True.
I was right. The most common placenta preparation, creating a capsule, is made by steaming and dehydrating the placenta or processing the raw placenta. People, oh my God, who have also been known to eat the placenta raw, cooked, or in smoothies.
Oh, no!
Enough. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'd rather a black
That's-
pudding. I'd
surely
rather-
I'll
that
take the capsule
smoothie
if you
would-
don't mind.
Even
That
that's harsh.
smoothie would be on Insta for sure. I just had a baby and now I'm making quickly, baby. Sit in the corner. I'm making a smoothie.
I am absolutely sure you can find some influencer
Yeah.
nutribulleting their own placenta.
It doesn't even look appetizing, really.
What, a placenta?
No. A black pud.
I love black pudding. I
Oh,
love
really?
black pudding, but I love it.
I
It's
tried it
delicious.
once when I was in the UK.
I think it's delicious. I like a haggis too.
Did you grow up with that, Schmidty?
No,
the black
no,
pudding
not
thing?
really.
No, wasn't
Any
something
kind of
like
offal?
Really? What do they call it? Lamb's fry?
Lamb's brains, yeah.
Ah,
No, that's
no,
right.
not brains. No, the
Oh, the
livers. or
livers, yeah.
kidneys. Yeah.
See, I can do chicken
Yeah.
liver pate, which I love. Clarky doesn't like
Beautiful.
it, but
Yeah.
no other kind of offal. I don't
I can
think.
do that, but that's about it.
Oh, you used to like a good meat treat, Carla.
Oh, I
Oh,
do love a good
stop
meat treat, don't get me
it.
wrong, but I don't do offal.
Oh, keep it nice.
I'm talking about.
Jesus.
I'm
I know it's
talking
not
about-
PG, but
Can
far
Can you
out.
remember- I was talking about prosciutto and things like that.
Oh, of course you were.
Deli meats.
Ugh.
Swanee knew I meant deli meats. Back to the Brazil nuts.
See what you did.
Boom, boom.
So the trio, here we go. The trio later dined on the meat of Jessica which had been
Dined.
prepared with salt and oregano, according to Georgie. Not, and here's the worst bit.
Brazilians
Well,
do
almost.
meat better than that.
Yeah, well, I don't understand why it kept being talked about being prepared with salt and oregano. He talks about how the food was prepared on several occasions, and there's multiple different dishes, but it's often talked about this salt and oregano. But I think you're right. I think there's a bit more to it
Whilst
than
he's
that.
super smart and he's able to have children because he can
He's a
prepare them
genius.
with a good home, he's a shit cook.
Mhm.
So with the salt and
Well, he
oregano,
doesn't do the cooking.
Clearly.
Isabel does the cooking.
But did they have
yeah.
like one of those Brazilian sort of? We had friends
No
who were
hair.
Brazilian, and they had a sort of a. I was near like a pizza oven style thing, so like an outdoor, it's their version of a barbecue thing.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm reading a bit too much into this based on.
So, but with
these
I don't
really
see any
sound
evidence of
No,
that. I'll tell you
okay.
what, though, I did see photos of the property that they were staying at, and it was like a hovel, so I don't think so.
good. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think they were cooking inside.
That
So
was
it
just
sounds
like
like they were
pizza oven outside.
preserving with salt and oregano, like making prosciutto or something like
They
that.
didn't have an outdoor pizza
No, it
oven
wasn't
slash
salted.
by the pool.
No, it was
okay.
more like I think what we should imagine are things more like stew, some kind of stew.
Move on.
Not to be left out of the feast, they even served up parts of the body to
The
Jessica's
child.
own daughter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the day after
Oh.
they killed her.
Tastes
Mhm.
familiar, sweetie?
This reminds me of something. Oh, it's like a milk I once had.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I've lost. I
It's-
don't know. I can't think of it now.
It's
She was only about 8. She's only about 2 years old at this point, so I'm hoping she
didn't have a
doesn't
lot of
remember any
words.
this. I don't even know that she could eat that much meat.
fuck
so
is this?
know.
Where's
Who
my
the fuck
Where's
is
my
that?
placenta smoothie? This will never go on Insta. I'll never be an influencer if you keep feeding me my mummy.
Georgie claimed he didn't know what he was really eating, insisting, I ate it thinking it was just beef. I didn't ask any more questions.
Bullshit. I'm
bullshit.
calling bullshit. He's a
I'm
truth
calling
stretcher.
bullshit.
He's done set 3 in truth stretching.
This guy is a total truth stretcher.
Big time.
Amongst other things.
Anyway, in some ways, this next fact upsets me the most
Oh.
because it indicates that it wasn't a sudden escalation. It wasn't just this moment of kind of
Right, it was
madness.
premeditated.
Yep.
Bruna, well, remember he went and adopted the child?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And Bruna began to use Jessica's identity documents, and she and Georgie went around pretending that they were the girl's parents.
Oh,
So I do feel there's premeditation in
Yeah.
this, yeah.
Sick fucks.
Yeah.
To quote, what's her name off? What's that movie? Carly, you'd probably know. Eat this, you sick, twisted fuck. I'm
Yeah, it
so
rings
good
a
with
bell.
names.
thinking Reese Witherspoon. but
No, it's where and there's the typewriter, and she locks him up in the house.
Oh, Kathy Bates.
Misery.
Misery, that's
Misery.
Misery.
Is that Kathy
Yes.
Bates?
With
That's
Kathy
it.
Bates, yeah.
All of
and-
that. Did Catherine Bates just ring you?
No, I just thought I might find out what the truth stretcher was in Portuguese, and I was just listening to what it is. So it is
Marca de verdade.
Maca de verdade. Maca, I think it looks like crazy.
Yeah, g'day, Maca.
Maca da verdade.
Marca da verdade.
Verdad. Right.
Am I the only person that finds that Portuguese sounds like Russian?
No, I 100% think that. Yes,
It is so strange. I never realised that when
it does.
we lived in Europe. There were people who were speaking Portuguese, but it was so amongst lots of other languages. And then when we went to Portugal, I was like, a couple of years later, I was like, oh my God, this sounds Russian.
It does too. For me
Carla.
too. And I've talked about it, and
Yes.
there is a connection somewhere. I believe there is a
Yeah.
reason, but I can't think of it right now.
Oh.
Yes.
Carla, inappropriate joke time, because it reminds
Yeah.
me of a Christmas song. Maca da verdad. Maca da verdad.
I like it.
I want to
like it.
miss you a truth stretching time.
True stretcher.
Sorry.
Maca de verdade.
Okay. After 4 years, the trio with the young girl moved to the coastal city of João Pessoa in Brazil's Paraíba state, where he bought a small holding.
Perfect.
I probably said that completely wrong, but sorry about that. I'm not Russian nor Portuguese nor Brazilian.
Nor Brazilian.
After his arrest in 2000,
But you don't mind one.
After his arrest in 2012, police there began to investigate the possible involvement of Georgie in the murder of a young woman near his former home. Get ready for some
A different one.
Detective.
defective detecting.
Oh,
Here we go. he said it was about something that had happened near our home. I'd gone out, but the police were searching in the undergrowth. Bruna and Isabel were in the house when the police smashed the door down.
That's not a
Subtle.
suspicion, is it?
It's not very subtle. When I arrived home, the police chief came up to me and said, "Look, we have a problem here. Either we
You're
make
fucked, mate.
either we make an agreement here, or you will all have to be arrested, aka you're fucked, mate." So I gave him my small holding and all the furniture inside it. I gave him my house, and the problem was resolved, and nothing else was said. And then we had to leave.
What was the problem?
The problem was the police believe
He was guilty
that
as
he
fuck.
killed some other girl,
So this was not
not
And stole
related
her
to
baby.
Jessica,
Someone else.
just
Okay.
This
some.
is not defective
unnamed
detective.
at
This
this
is
point.
no one's picked up on the
bribery.
Jessica thing.
This is
Okay.
they moved away, right? They moved to somewhere else. A girl goes
Yes,
missing. Clearly,
Oh, that's at the new place. My
place.
mistake. So I thought that was where Jessica was.
no.
Okay,
4
this is
years
at the
later,
new place.
4 years later,
Correct,
there's
okay.
some kind of a suspicion in the small, and so he gives him the small holding, and says, "Just take that." And everyone goes,
How,
"Okay."
how small is it?
I don't know.
Couple of acres, whatever.
It was a small holding.
Not like a doll's house.
a small holding. A small holding. I'm
just
not
like this.
sure.
Yeah. I'll give you the nature strip out the front. It's only small, but you can hold it.
Anyway, they had to leave, so we decided to move to Garanahans, or whatever it said, where Isabel's sister still lived.
Excellent.
Garanhans? Something.
Your own hands?
Hang on.
Hang on.
Granans.
Granans? It's something like that. It's very hard to say. Somewhere in Brazil.
Is it the cannibal capital of Brazil?
No. Recife. Recife is the cannibal
How do you
Yeah.
even know
Oh,
that?
of course it is. Yeah.
because they go back there, I think. That's why I'm saying that.
Oh, okay. So not fact. Not actual fact. Trial by one fact.
Well, this is where Isabel's sister still lived. The corrupt policeman who took Georgie's property as a bribe could have prevented the deaths of his next two victims. So Georgie had to sell his house in Recife, so he returned there to put it on the market. He and
How could he have prevented it? Is that by arresting him?
correct. He and
The corruptive detective,
the
not
corruptive-
the defective.
that's right. I don't know, corruptive. We'll work on that one.
Total
Hmm.
trial by one world.
Yeah.
Word.
He and Bruna, scared that the next owners might find Jessica's remains, dug up her bones and left them in a bag near the city cemetery. They then went back to Garan.
Why is that? Because they figured that that's where all the bones are, and a bag of bones won't look suspicious in the cemetery.
Had they done that at the time that they left that
What?
initial house, Schmidty?
No,
I
they
don't
went
know.
back.
They went
They've
back.
gone
They
back.
went back to sell the house in Recife, and they dug up the
Oh, so they
bones.
still own. I didn't understand.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
My
Oh,
mistake.
So they
my
dug up
Lord.
their first
So
victim.
I was like, I'm pretty sure if it was rented or bought by somebody else, you'd notice the people in the backyard.
Yeah,
Digging
digging it
everything
up.
up.
Bones
Yeah,
up.
no.
What are they out there doing in our yard?
It's backyard blitz.
And by the way, they'd eaten her. They'd eaten all of the meat from her by that time. So it's just the bones
yeah,
and
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
they didn't eat yet.
The freezer
Marrow
was
as well,
empty.
or not?
Sorry?
Marrow
No.
as well, or
They buried the
was
bones.
that in the bones? Yeah, but they could have
Oh,
eaten the
I
marrow
don't know
before
if they
buried
ate the
them.
marrow. I don't know. They then moved to Granenhans, the German city. I'm just joking. It's somewhere that I can't pronounce. Where
The German city
In Brazil. the trio really started living as a sect. They called themselves the cartel, and their purpose was to save bad souls and to prevent the world from becoming overpopulated.
Jesus.
Whoa, that's a pretty big
Ha-
mission for 3 people.
That is. And I'm not sure if 3 people make a sect.
I don't know what makes a
Is it-
sect.
am I missing something on the name? I mean, what does cartel mean in
Early
Portuguese?
on, remember he was hearing. Oh, maybe I haven't explained it. I thought I
Oh,
did.
so he had his
He
20
heard
friends
voices.
as well.
And his Mr. Schizophrenia had voices that he said
Yeah,
were
in the
the cartel.
backyard.
They called themselves the
Mm.
cartel. So
But we know that in reference to, a drug cartel. But does it mean something else?
It sounds
A little bit more simple,
post-meditated.
like the group or the...
Is that a fact? I mean, is that a
think
word,
it's-
post-meditated?
I think it's just maybe I don't know about post meditated, but
Like group wasn't it?
I feel like it's a collection of the voices in my head. Yeah.
I reckon if you committed all these crimes and then had to go to jail and then had to explain why it all happened, and you said that I had these friends when I was a kid. That's post-meditation.
After you meditated?
No, after it's happened, you've then planned it. So if pre-meditation is planning before the event, post-meditation is planning afterwards. And so there's no fact that he actually had these friends, but he's post-meditated them into the case to try to get a better defense.
Oh, I think in some ways I don't know about this word post-meditation, but I do know that
It's trial by wine.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is he's made shit up to cover himself. And bearing in mind that a lot of what we know about this story comes from his own interview afterwards, you're probably right.
I'm not saying he made shit up. I'm saying he post-meditated because it was all planned.
All right. Okay. I'm really struggling to follow that, but okay. Okay, so they get this kills me, this bit. They even sold books.
Oh no, don't say it then. Keep it to yourself.
Get this. They sold books in the city, some of which were propagating their bizarre message. And Georgie wrote a book which he even had registered at the local I don't know,
book register.
Whatever, somewhere, which was called The Revelations of a Schizophrenic. And it contained graphic hand-drawn images, which I'm not going to show you, and appears to detail the murder and consumption of Jessica.
Oh, no.
In one chapter, he writes, looking at the now lifeless body of the evil adolescent, I feel relieved.
The evil adolescent?
It's cray, right? It's cray. I grabbed some sheet metal.
Just one cray or 7 crays?
It's multiple crays.
I feel like it needs more than one cray.
I grabbed some sheet metal and began to remove all the skin, and then I divided her up.
What with the sheet metal?
Warn us before you're going to go into this.
Jesus.
We dine on the flesh of evil as a purification ritual. We bury the remains in the patio.
No, you don't.
Or if you're from New South Wales, the patio.
Patio.
With the cat. New South Wales?
Oh, I don't know. They say it's somewhere. I've heard patio and patio. I'm a patio girl.
I think patio.
Oh, we're patio people.
I reckon I was born in Sydney, and I reckon patio was how we said it until we moved to Melbourne and grew
That's
up.
cabana and cabanossi. Yep.
Oh, definitely.
Rock melon and
what do you
cantaloupe.
call Devon? Don't
Potato scallops and
no, Strasbourg.
potato cakes.
Devon, Strasbourg. Yeah.
Nah, Devon and Stras are different.
Devon's
in Melbourne, you can get Devon and Stras.
What is Devon then?
So
Devon is a
similar.
It's a similar thing to Stras. It's just different.
What do they call it in
Fritz in Adelaide? They
Fritz
call it
in Adelaide.
Fritz, oh my god.
Anyway,
but it's
like, and that sounds like Fritzl. So like, it's made out of the people that live in the basement.
Oh no, don't like
don't go there.
Too far.
No, we'll cover that some other time. But
says
not
you.
Today. Yeah, well, it's going to get worse.
Strap in,
stop
everyone.
Adding grossness to my
it's getting
gross
worse.
story.
We're going down.
All right, so whether it's patio or patio, that's where we bury the remains. Despite his previous confessions and the abundance of evidence to the contrary, Georgie now insists he was no more than a subject of his mistress, Bruna. Remember our 18?
Post-meditation.
Remember our 18-year-old tart?
Mm-hmm.
Who claims
that is post-meditation. I'm telling you, it's a thing.
Well, okay.
I'm going to ring Reggie.
Okay. He claims that she had the real thirst for blood, or long pig, as I like to say. Teachings.
What? Where did you get that?
Long pig. That's what human flesh is called. Long pig.
We've had that discussion
what
before.
Within cannibalism circles?
Yes,
or?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you operate in cannibalistic circles, we all call it long pig. Come on.
Or
Is it
cannibalistic
because
circles.
we taste like pork, or is it?
Yeah, but we're
Apparently.
long instead of short and fat.
Yeah,
but
we're long.
Cannibalistic circles or the Schmidt household.
No, I think it actually comes from
the dear
like
mum?
Samoan
Oh,
and
long
Tahitian and Hawaiian cannibals.
Cannibals.
But there's no reason that you need to know that other than
Anthropology. It's
Fascination.
just anthropology.
No, it's
No, it is. It is.
fucking-
I literally learned it at university. It's an anthropology thing.
You know too much about these things. Too much.
That and clowns.
Here we go. Back
That and clowns.
Moving
and
on to
soap
things
making.
Maybe she could like have a crossover between clown passions and.
and moving on to other things I
Long
know about,
pig.
like witchcraft.
20.
Teachings in her witchcraft book, which he said was called Wicca, but as we know from previous stories, Wicca doesn't actually preach murder and cannibalism. Anyway,
Correct.
this bird had a book which then formed the basis of the group's belief in the purification of the soul through cannibalism. He said, and this is a cracker, I found the book and began to read it. Right at the beginning, it said, if you want to be a true witch, guard your virginity and only give it up to a wise man. And I asked Bruna, are you with me because of love or because of the book?
Because I'm wise.
Yeah, correct.
Oh.
She admitted that initially it was because of the book, i.e., because you're a wise man, but later that she had learned to love him.
And this is this century.
2008 is when some of this happens, yeah.
The
Goodness
fuck?
me.
Jesus.
And red flag, anyone? Where's that alarm bell going off, Clarky?
But
Yeah,
we love that.
fucking hell,
You're
fire
like,
alarm
oh my God,
time.
She thinks I'm wise, and I'm so. He already was educated compared to them, so he probably.
He's
did
massively
educated.
educated. Oh, he's a narcissist of the top order.
Yeah,
Is he massively educated?
I wouldn't say
He's university
Was
educated,
relative.
but he is university educated. Yeah.
It's not massively.
Comparative to people around him, he thinks is a super genius, and he's a
Yeah,
massive
but
narcissist.
that's because he's a fuckwit.
Are you with me because of love or because of the book? She admitted that initially it was because of the book, but she had learned to love me.
I googled fire alarm and I got fucking smoke detector. I feel like the smoke detector should have played about half an hour ago, and now it's like the fire
we can
alarm.
see something smouldering.
Yeah, something's not right here, but now we're way past that.
All right. All the rituals were in the Wicca book, including the one where if you break the 7th commandment, thou shalt not kill, eating the flesh of the person you executed will purify you of sin.
Is that the 7th commandment?
Thou shalt not kill. It seems seems really low in the list, doesn't it?
I feel like it should be like right up there.
Right up there,
yeah.
After don't see you next Tuesday.
I think there are things like don't diss your parents that actually are higher than don't kill. That's the interesting thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, they brought you into the world. They can take you straight back out, I suppose.
Yeah, here we go.
You.
You shall don't have strange gods before me. No, loving an idol.
Arrogant much?
It's God. You shall not take the name of the Lord of your God in vain. Oops, soz.
God.
Remember to keep holy the Lord's day. Honor your father and your mother, and now thou shalt not kill, and now thou shalt not commit adultery, and now that you shall not steal. So yeah, the list is interesting.
Maslow's hierarchy of sin.
It's
somewhat, exactly.
It's somewhat not in order of priority, I think.
And in this list, I don't know where this is a traditional catechetical formula. Jeepers, can't even say it.
And
from the Catholic Archdiocese of Melbourne's website, the number one is don't take my name in vain. Sorry, no, don't love idol gods,
other false
idols, false gods, yeah. But this list says that number 5 is thou shalt not kill. 6 is not
And
adultery. 7 is
number
not
5 with a rocket this week. Is
7 do not steal.
For the 28th week in a row.
Don't bear false witness against your neighbour is 8. Don't covet your neighbour's wife is 9. And don't covet your neighbour's goods is 10.
This week.
The top 10, yeah.
Just staying within the top 10 this week.
But covet your neighbour's son on the altar all you want. Sorry, too far again. Can I just ask? Is there a cure? So if eating the victim is the cure for murdering someone or whatever,
it's the purification of the sin
is.
Yeah.
Evil. Yeah.
Is there one of those for each of the however many sins there are?
How the fuck would I know? I mean, this is Craytown.
I just wonder if the Wicca book had
She's
it.
an expert in cannibalism, not an expert in everything else.
I'm pretty good on. I am pretty.
She knows more about this shit than I ever will.
I am pretty good at witchcraft, but I got to say, I don't think this is real witchcraft. Or this might be Brazilian stuff. I don't know.
Don't worship false gods unless you eat them too.
Yeah, you got to basically eat everything to purify. It just doesn't make a great deal of sense.
God, you be a fat bastard, I tell you.
Get yourself a big fat meat suit. Anyway.
I hope they taste like cheese and bacon.
Is that Lady Gaga?
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I was just trying to work out where I was. Okay, so
understandably.
we've done the rituals in the Wicker book. So I think we ended up following the rituals that were in the book. I'm certain that if there didn't exist the influence of that book, there wouldn't exist the executions. Not sure about that.
Really, though?
Yeah. Georgie also claimed that he heard voices in his head of the cartel, led by the spirit.
Blah,
Here we go.
blah.
Gets crazier. Led by the spirit of Isabel's deceased father, passing on the sex teaching. He said,
What?
my own father would.
The sex teaching or the
Sectus.
Oh, thank
Gotcha.
Christ.
Sex
Yeah,
teaching.
God.
So he said,
You say it again and it still sounds like sex teaching.
It's hard. Sects.
Yeah, no, it is
Sex.
hard. I agree. God,
Plural.
There's a flaw in our language, isn't there?
SECTS. He said, my own father would always tell me that Brazil was a good place, but the people made it bad. Then I met Isabel's father, who became a great friend. He was even more rigorous. He would tell me that Brazil only knew how to produce bandits and prostitutes. Those things stayed in my head.
I don't agree with that. That's not fact.
It's not fact either. One of my best friends is Brazilian, and she ain't no bandit nor no
I
prostitute.
met her in Bath.
We
Yes,
did.
yes, you met her in Bath. And she's just gorgeous. And she ain't no
She
bandit
is.
and she ain't no prostitute. And neither
She's on the way to Bath?
No,
and
no.
I'm going to say
London.
she's
She's in
never
London.
eaten. She's never
She's in
eaten
London, that's right.
another person.
I don't believe she's ever eaten another person. Not knowingly.
No.
Anyway, he goes on to say, those things stayed in my head. After he died, I started to hear voices in my head telling me things that he had ordered them to say.
la.
La 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 la.
La, la, la,
I just
la,
can't get you
can't
out of
get
my
you out
head.
of my head.
Okay.
Right.
Schmidty, can I just ask a quick
You
question?
may.
I was a little bit confused. Was this his father-in-law or his father?
His father-in-law, which is why,
So is this
which
not
I
for the-
find it
yeah.
even weirder that it's his father-in-law, not his father. Yeah,
I just wondered if there had been
it's weird.
had there been a connection, or was the father-in-law part of anything? Or
It
was this
just
him
became
again
good
just-
mates with the father-in-law.
bit.
Yeah, and the father-in-law reinforced some of the stuff his own dad said, and it just he says the voices spoke to me all the time. They said that everything that happened was because the cartel had ordered it, and in some ways he's decided that the cartel is being ordered by the voice of his father-in-law. It's not
Okay.
Wanker.
one of these kids is not like the other one.
No.
Anyway.
Not like the other one.
And, I didn't always agree with them, but I passed on everything they told me to do to Bruna, and she turned into a fanatic. She wanted to do everything that the cartel were commanding. So this is the young karate girl. For the group, women...
And by the young cartel who is commanding this stuff, it's the three of them, right?
The cartel are the voices in his head. He's telling
Right.
he's telling Bruna really what's being said in
Yeah,
his
yeah.
head, because she's told him to get off the drugs.
And she's lapping that shit up.
She is, according to him, lapping that shit up.
Oh, right.
Yes, according to him. And look, I got to say, as I go through this story, she doesn't seem like a victim.
Yeah, no, I'm not hearing victim, but I don't want to judge.
I'm not
just
saying
yet.
that he was innocent, because he sort of paints himself as
He's
innocent.
batshit crazy.
He's batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And I think she is too, yeah.
I'm still faxing him as soon as you get me his number. Don't worry.
All right. So for the group, women who were helping to overpopulate the country, and particularly those who mistreated their children.
Women who were helping to overpopulate the country.
Yeah, because you just prop out kids. You don't have men. Men are not involved in it.
Just cross your legs.
No,
no. That'll solve it.
No, men aren't involved in it. You just women.
Yeah,
women.
no.
Women are the problem, because women just squeeze them out all the time. Anyway,
Yeah, makes sense.
I'll cross your legs. You in a minute. It takes two to tango and to make a baby. Anyway.
So they weren't immaculate conceptions.
No, I'm suggesting that they weren't.
Oh.
Women who were helping to overpopulate the country, and particularly those who mistreated their children or failed to educate them properly, were a scourge on the world. He also admits that the ID cards of each of the women he murdered ended in 6, considered an evil number by the group, and that it may have been one of the reasons why the victims were chosen.
Did he check that first before he murdered them?
Exactly. Exactly, my friend.
Can we get ABC fact checking to see if that is actually fact?
We need a team of auditors.
I think it's a coincidence.
I'm calling truth stretch.
I think it's a coincidence.
True stretch, right? Macadam
Their ID cards did all end in 6, but I think it was a
Exactly.
coincidence.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Anyway, When asked about his own religious beliefs, he said, I believe in positive and negative energy and that there exists a conscious superior energy, which is God. Christ was the only human to not break any of the 10 commandments. When he died, his energy united with the energy of the all-powerful, whatever that means.
I don't understand. Sounds like Scott Morrison talking. It's just a whole lot of words that actually mean nothing to me.
I don't disagree.
Sorry. Don't get religious or political. Note to self.
It's just a little bit Hillsong.
Yes, that's right.
Buckle up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Georgie met his second known victim, 21-year-old Giselle Helena da Silva, in February 2012 at a doctor's...
She's got a beautiful name.
She does. And she was a beautiful girl. At a doctor's clinic where she was telling a group how she had become an evangelical Christian. He said...
There's nothing wrong with that.
He said, I thought she could become a good friend to Bruna. So I took her number. Bruna started to call her and they had long conversations on the phone. But then Bruna told me she had confided that she tried to kill her son and that she had beaten up her young nephew. One day...
So hang on, Giselle had tried to do that or Bruna had tried to do that?
Giselle tried to do that.
So told Bruna, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One day...
Did she eat them?
No. One day she asked Giselle to come to our house. Belle, being the older lady Isabel, went to see her sister and Bruna went to meet the girl at the bus stop. She kept saying to me, you have to do what the cartel says, don't you? I walked behind Bruna and Giselle as they went home. When I got to the house, I entered through the back door. I remember walking into the kitchen holding a hammer and then seeing Bruna's face and her saying to me, it can be now. After that, I just remember flashes, the reflection of a kitchen knife, a body, a dead person in the bathroom, and the running shower.
Bullshit, mate.
I came to my senses the next day, lying on the floor. I looked in the fridge and I saw all the meat already prepared and thought to myself, oh, it's happened again.
Barbecue.
In exactly the
fairy
same way.
butcher's turned up.
Argentinian barbecue. Very good. Nose to tail eating. Anyway. I was aware that there had been an execution, that her body had been buried in the same way. I thought, this isn't really happening. This can't be happening. And in my words, in true waste not, want not fashion, the family once again sat down with the girl, now aged 5, and consumed their victim's meat. Bizarrely...
In true waste not, want
not fashion. We're doing nose to tail eating.
That's in
here.
the spirit. That's not in the spirit of waste not, want not. No way.
Oh, I think it is. I think you'll find out soon it is. So they sit down, they have another meal, everyone eats it. Georgie again claims he has no idea he's eating human flesh. He says, it's just difficult to explain. I was thinking, I'm eating Giselle, but my mind is in conflict and I kept denying it, thinking, no.
He's annoying me.
It's not.
He's really
It's annoying everyone.
Annoying me.
Oh, you have every
He's
right to
annoying
be
me.
annoyed by this man.
I'm annoyed.
Yeah.
He's got a really creepy habit of licking his lips as well, by the way.
Oh, stop it.
Anyway.
Oh, is that his tick?
I asked, here we go. I asked Bruna who bought this meat, and she said, just leave it. So I didn't ask any more questions.
What do you mean? He woke up and there was all the meat in the fridge and someone's dead and he's going, who bought this meat?
Mm-hmm. He's totally deluded.
Fuck off, mate.
His story.
But this is
his
story.
story
Right?
is he's totally deluded. Yeah.
Truth stretch.
Truth stretch.
Truth stretch. There needs to be a thing in court where they can actually go, they can vote, like, is this fact or not? Truth stretch. I'm holding up the truth stretch sign right there.
I hold you in contempt for truth stretching.
I hold you in truth stretch tempt.
Yeah.
Of court.
I'll
Contempt.
speak to Reggie about it. Let's find out if it's
All right.
happening.
2 weeks after Giselle's murder, the group lured another young woman to her death. 20-year-old Alexandra da Silva Falcao,
What?
who Bruna...
Fuck you, tell mate.
It's actually Falcao, sorry. I'll say it again. In respect of the victim. In respect of the victim. Can we have some respect for the victim?
And also in respect of credible reporting.
20-year-old Alexandra da Silva Falcao, who Bruna got to know on the bus, according to Negromonte, and offered her a job as a babysitter. Negromonte is
Well
Georgie.
done.
Once again, He claimed he had no idea the girl was about to die, but in the same way as
Truth
the
stretch.
previous murder, he followed her home, and we all know
Have you
what
got me his
happened.
fax number yet?
As she said, as I was following them, the cartel started speaking to me saying something's going to happen. And I was saying to myself, nothing's going to happen. And we were just going to give her a job as a babysitter. And then when I opened the door, I had an attack. I remember seeing the girl's back, me with a knife in my hand. I remember seeing the two boys, you remember our black and white friends, pulling on my trousers, trying to stop me. And then it happened just like before, her body in the bathroom, the shower on, her body in pieces, and then the meat in the freezer.
What's his surname?
Again.
I know, it just keeps happening.
What's his surname?
It's Negromonte. Just everyone's called De Silva or Silviera in this. Everyone's got the same last name. I don't understand why. Look up Jorg.
De Silveira. I found him.
De Silveira.
Oh, God. Now I'm going to Google prison.
Anyway, I'm not finished. Afterwards, I said to Bruna, I don't understand. And get this one. She replied that Alexandra just wanted to populate the world to make money. I'm not quite sure how that works. We ate the meat. It took 4 days to finish it off. It was the same as before. I kept thinking, that's
a lot of meat in 4 days.
It's I mean, come on. Like, you boys have had lambs and goats. How long does it take you to eat a goat?
Well, I'm going out of, like, dressed weight. You might get, it depends how big she was, but you might get, 15 kilos.
That's a lot of meat in 4 days. Yeah, I see your point.
It is a lot of meat.
Yeah.
Even if it's 10 kilos.
Yeah, true. Between four of them, yeah. And it all makes sense in a moment. That'll all make sense in a moment, Clarky. Hold that thought. We ate the meat. It took 4 days to finish it off. Same as before. I kept thinking, this is human meat. Then the doubts would come. No, it's not. Then there was a fight with myself to accept the truth. Okay. The crimes were only discovered because Giselle's mother called the police saying that her daughter was missing, but her credit card was still being used. After the date of Giselle's disappearance, the card was used at least 5 times. The police proceeded to investigate and managed to reach a store that had security cameras. In the recording, Georgie and Bruna appeared making the purchase with the victim's card. The police managed to identify them and went to their house. As soon as the policeman arrived at the residence, here we go, get ready, he found Jessica's daughter, who was 5 years old. He asked the child who her father was, and she pointed to Georgie. The police showed a photo of Giselle and asked if she knew her, and she said yes. And then he questioned her about Giselle's whereabouts, and the little girl said, my father sent her to hell.
That's not going to bode well.
Policeman was...
Express Post. Hi, Australia Post. I'd just like to send this person to hell. What's the best way?
Don't forget to take the sticker so I can track it.
That's right. Can I have insurance on that package? Anyway, the policeman was shocked by the answer, and the little girl led him to the backyard, pointing out the exact place where Giselle was buried. The police quickly arrested everyone in the house and then went on to find some terrible things. So they excavated the house.
Went on to find some terrible things.
Well, they excavated the house. They excavated the backyard. They found the remains of Giselle and Alexandra. The house was, as I said, filthy, full of stuff. They had the room of evil. They had all this. Oh, it was awful.
The room of evil.
I think it's where they cut the girls up. They found
like an abattoir.
They found the fridge full of body parts, etc. The other thing that's disturbing is that there were 2 other female victims that they'd already picked out. So going back to that point about premeditation, there were 2 other victims.
I think was the point.
I'm talking pre, you're talking post. But
Sorry, you're talking fact.
They had selected 2 other women that they were going to kill, and they'd already dug graves to bury their remains.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, more fool them.
Okay, here we go. Now, when we talked about how much meat you can get, what did you say, dressed weight? Which I believe is like a nice butchering term, as, what can you get off a carcass? Well, at the police station, Isabel confessed that the empanadas that she was selling at the centre of the city...
Yes, brilliant.
No.
In hospitals and police stations and other public places were stuffed with the flesh of the victims. These are the best pies in Hessefe. Best pies in Hessefe. Okay. At another point, Bruno tells them quite naturally that they decided to fill the snacks with human meat because, according to them, well, the meat's the same as beef. And there was no need to buy any more animal meat if the victims have
True
already
fact.
died. I mean, they're dead anyway.
Yeah,
We may as
yeah.
well just use them. It's waste otherwise.
Nose to tail eating, mate.
As I said, waste not, want not.
Empanada, yum.
In a more graphic article, I did read that
Jesus.
Georgie said that he couldn't remember if they'd ever eaten any of the flesh as steaks, but he did recall buying a meat mincer for Isabel, but he wasn't sure if she ever used it. Now,
he's a flog.
Here's a flog, because if you look up a recipe of an empanada, they're always
It's
made
mince.
with mincemeat. So she definitely minced that meat. That's right.
And it's more like a pasty than a...
It's a pasty. It's like
a
a little...
pie,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. It's a little pasty.
They're delicious. And generally in Chile, they have an olive in the middle of them. They're delicious.
Yep. Well, who knows what you're eating in Chile.
But they're not
just
made
saying.
from
God knows what you
Giselle.
had.
Yeah,
A Giselle empanada.
Okay, so here's the best bit. Georgie says...
It's the best bit.
it gets better.
This is my favourite part of this story.
Strap in, everyone, when she says that.
when
I'm
we
already upset by this man.
When we were arrested, the police chief asked about the empanadas because he used to buy them from
Because he'd
Isabel,
eaten them.
and he was a massive fan.
Oh. Oh.
And he said, "Did you use the women's flesh in the empanadas?" And she said, "Oh, if that was the meat was in the freezer, then yeah." Can you just imagine how the police chief would have reacted to the news that he'd been eating these ladies, and not in a good way?
Correct.
Oh, God, why did you have to add that?
Just to gross you out even more.
That's not even
That even
funny.
tastes like donuts.
I'm going to guess that he's a vegetarian now. Anyway.
Oh,
All right.
vegetarian.
A vegetarian. Okay, so Georgie's blaming Bruna. Bruna's blaming Georgie. Isabel said she did everything out of love for Georgie. He's confessed to Jessica's death when asked who the mother of the child they were keeping in the house was. He still insists the child's his, and Jessica's daughter tells his and Jessica's daughter. So he's making out that he had a relationship. The child was already produced and 18 months old when she came to the house. Anyway, and did everything for her. They found Jessica's remains, and here's the kind of outcome. So during the first jury court held in Olinda for the trial of the murder of 17-year-old Jessica Camila da Silva in 2008, Bruna laughed most of the time. Isabel cried a lot. Oh, she's a piece of work.
Bruna laughed.
She's nuts. She's crazy. She's cray-cray. And Georgie just was calm. Just calm. At the first trial, they were convicted of the crimes of homicide, and I think they were given 21 years for that trial. Oh, sorry. Georgie got 21 years. Bruna got 19. And I think Isabel did too. But then there was an appeal, and everyone unanimously decided to increase the sentences of them. In 2019, that became official, and Georgie's new sentence at that point became 27 years, and Bruna's was 24, and Isabel as well. Now, so that's just for Jessica's murder, right?
Right.
Before you get upset.
I was about to, so thank you.
In December 2018, in another jury held in Recife, they were tried for the deaths of Alexandra da Silva Falcao, 20, and Giselle Helena Silva. I saw her name as Giselle and Giselle, so I'm not sure how to say it, which took place in my mate Garan Hans, whatever it is, in 2012. Bruna was sentenced to 71 years and 10 months in prison. Georgie was sentenced to 71 years imprisonment, and Isabel to 68 years in imprisonment.
Nice.
With the unification of sentences, Georgie, because we don't do concurrent here, Georgie gets 98 years of imprisonment and a year and a half of detention. I don't know what that means. Bruna must serve 95 years and 10 months of imprisonment plus 1 year of detention. Don't know what that means. And Isabel, 92 years of imprisonment and 1 year of detention.
Maybe the detention is what happens before the
trial. Yeah, I'm not sure.
That bit.
It's a system thing. Jessica's daughter now lives with an aunt and is apparently doing very well, and she's undergoing some medical and psychiatric follow-up. Bruna, incarcerated for 95 years. Bruna dreams of getting out of prison and studying dentistry.
Fuck it.
Good on her.
Because that was the only bit she couldn't eat.
Karate and dentistry. Isabel basically has no hope for life. She's a very sad character. And Georgie says he doesn't remember much, but he insists that they were necessary sacrifices and he loves the ladies. Now,
which ladies? The ones he ate or the ones that
no,
he's with?
Isabel and Bruna. Still, Georgie refuses to admit that he meant to murder anyone. I'm not the kind of person who would do bad things to anyone. My nature is to help people.
Certainly not 3 times in a row.
Goes back to the whole narcissism thing. Every now I wake up in the morning and I ask myself a question, an idiotic question, because you can't turn back time. Why did I do this? Why did it happen? Everything was going well. I had everything to make my life a success. I still look up to the sky and think, this isn't real. This isn't happening. When I sleep, I never dream that I'm in prison. I dream that I'm with my family, with the little girl, free. I didn't do what I did out of malice. I'm a person who has a problem. I need treatment.
Oh.
Yeah, you fucking do.
Complete insanity, right?
Then he goes on to say, I regret meeting that girl, Bruna. She's trouble. We don't talk about Bruna. No, no, no. Anyway, asked if he felt any remorse. He says, I feel remorse for having left as Isabel for Bruna. That's all he cares about. What he's planning to do when he's finally free, which of course he won't be because he's going to die in jail. But he says, my dream of having a family is over. I'm already too old. I want to go back to teaching lessons in physical education, administration, and education. The only thing we have is our mind, so we have to use it. Of course, I'm not going back to the places I used to teach or to use my name. I'll change my name so no one knows who I am. I want to continue helping people.
I want to rid the world of poverty, cure the world of hunger, and I'd like peace in the Middle East.
Like, what the fuck, mate?
Pretty much. Prison director Renato Mengales, something, was asked what it is like having a famous cannibal as one of his inmates. Here we go.
Was not.
He was. And here we go. He hasn't given me any headaches. He gets on well with everyone, he said.
Oh,
but sometimes
Jesus.
I see him eyeing up a thigh or two. And
he doesn't.
And now he wants to work in the kitchen, which will cause me a whole lot of work. And that is my story.
Oh, well done, Schmidty.
Yeah, well done.
Why,
well
thank
done,
you.
Kitty Cat, too.
Yes, thank you, Kitty Cat. I
Groceries.
hope I brought a hell of a lot more to that story than she was expecting, because she'll enjoy this one. So, I think we know what the crimes are, but I'd like you guys to explore it, because actually on the sentencing thing, I was a bit weak on this. So I want to hear your thoughts.
Come on, Swanee, you know you love to get in there first.
No, I haven't got that far. I wasn't expecting us to just...
I'll finish up.
Oh,
I can tell you some more. I can tell you that he's also...
You said you'd finish up.
Well, I had,
Stop.
but I'll just give her a little bit more.
But wait, there's more.
Wait, in the hospital. I'm doing you, Gary, in the hospital.
Yeah.
Georgie in the
Gary.
prison is currently working with a Christian pastor who is serving time for rape,
Fucking hell.
and he's creating another sect in the prison.
Oh, stop it.
They meet
You're
on-
playing into my hands now. Like, come on.
They meet on Saturday on the Lord's Day. They play guitar and sing worship songs. We meet in the prison chapel, and I've already preached from the pulpit. I have to speak to the inmate like Moses did to his people, because they have very little intelligence. I teach them. I love this. I teach them about what's right and wrong, and it's a sin to kill.
Yeah, though.
It's a sin
Unless
to
you
kill.
eat the victim.
That's right.
But in the off chance that you do, just make sure you eat them.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, I just
Should
thought
you
I'd throw
accidentally
that
the
in there.
evidence?
Fuck me.
Yeah. All right, go for your life.
Put the bones in a bag and put it at the cemetery.
I did just have a sneaky peek at what they look like.
Oh, because
Have you had a look yet, Clarky?
Isabel gets better. Like it's almost like when she gets out from Bruna and Georgie, she actually starts to look a little bit better. Do you see
hard to
that?
believe.
I've only got one photo. What am I supposed to... I don't know what you're looking at, Dave.
Oh.
I've seen lots of photos of them. Sorry. Are
Oh,
you
okay,
looking at
no,
the
I-
handwritten pictures? Yeah, that's
There
him.
was
That's
a
the
photo-
arrest photo.
That's him.
Yeah.
I've seen him, yeah.
That's the arrest photo. Why does he have no top on?
I have no idea. He seemed to be
Oh.
taken out.
His nipples.
Now what are you looking
So
at?
that's the three of them.
Awful room. I'm looking at this awful room. It says gruesome. Police found the remains of 2 women in the backyard, but that's no backyard. It's like a
That's
cell.
the evil room, the room of
Evil
evils.
room.
That's the room of evils.
The evil room looks like it could be on hoarders.
It
That's
just looks
upsetting
like a
me.
filthy, dirty room. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Hoarders.
They look like they live in hoarders. You're right.
It's like botched hoarders.
Oh, yuck. I've just seen that illustration.
No, don't look at the pictures.
Oh,
That's out of the book
don't.
of schizophrenia. Don't look at that. It's quite disturbing. I poured over it. No, I'm kidding.
I should...
Oh,
I've seen a lot of it.
goodness.
So, thoughts on sentencing?
Hello.
Hello, is this Reggie?
Is this
Trial by
This is
wine.
Trial by Wine calling you. Is this Reggie?
Oh, Reggie. Yes, this is Reggie.
Hi, Reggie. I've got I've got a question for you.
Oh,
If you can indulge us with a couple of minutes of your time.
And we are.
We've just been talking about premeditation, which is obviously planning in the lead up to an event.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if you commit a murder and then you post the event start planting facts in inverted commas back into the story, is that post meditation? Is post meditation a thing?
it's probably called post-offence conduct.
Post offense conduct.
Yes.
That
Oh,
escalated.
I like that one too.
Which can be used in a prosecution. Usually it relates to things like, you lie in a record of interview and you're provably lying, and therefore the jury can be told that because you lied, you were actually it was a consciousness of guilt. So you were conscious that you were guilty of the offence, and therefore you lied to try and cover it up. So that sort of fits in a little bit, I think, with
post meditation. So if in Trial by Wine we didn't know what the real term was, but we said it's post meditation, that would be more or less the same thing, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So post meditation, therefore, is almost a thing.
Almost.
And then in Trial by Wine world, where fact doesn't apply, it actually is a thing. But good chat, because I've been banging on about post meditation for most of this episode, and I think we all know it's not really a thing, but I think now it should be. Could you do me a favour?
I think it's absolutely fine, Clarky. It's right up there with truth stretching. The more we say it, the more it gets in the dictionary.
Yeah, sorry, Reggie can't hear us. I was just going to say, do me a favour. Next time you're in court and someone does post-event conduct, can you just accuse them of doing post-meditation?
True stretcher.
That might give me away as Reggie Lawless, might that?
Oh,
might
yeah. Well,
indeed.
I tell you what, then what you could do is ring your friends at Trial by Wine and say, what would you do in this instance? And then we could give advice to the court.
Exactly. And your advice would be that it is post-meditation.
Correct.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much. We love you.
Love you.
Bye, Reggie.
Bye.
Love it how we can do that.
There you go.
You can do whatever you like. It's Trial by One.
Post-event conduct.
Yeah, okay. Or otherwise known as post-meditation.
Post-meditation.
Yeah.
From this point on, known as post-meditation.
Now,
Great,
I've got a
yeah.
question for you, Schmidty.
Go for it.
Maybe I've got a question for all of you. Now, I don't specialise in cannibalism. I specialise in a number of things. but
Really?
That's not one of them.
Cannibalistic
Sorry,
marketing.
what do
This
you specialise in out of
feels-
interest?
Oh, I don't know. Not
Okay,
much.
sorry, go on.
Not much these days.
Motherhood and apple pie.
But where I
Apple
I
pie.
find that this story is on, upside down for me in some ways, is it doesn't feel like the cannibalism component is what's leading them. So my understanding from, stories that I've heard in the past, whatever else, the people who want to eat other people, that is the experience that they're after. The way this is framed is very much about a crime that is focused on ridding the world of a particular problem, be that people who are uneducated, poor,
overpopulating the world.
Overpopulating, a socioeconomic thing, really.
Yeah.
You know, poor people who are a little bit mucky and they're not interested. That's really the focus of their belief system. The cannibalism bit just feels like it's tacked on to the end. And I wasn't expecting that to be the case. I was expecting that would be more, that would be an integral part.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get where you're coming from.
Right? Do you think?
Yeah, yes and no, because in my extensive reading about cannibalism, of which I have done hours and hours, and if anyone in the ICT department looks at my history, probably won't have a job soon. But I have done a lot of looking at this, and cannibalism isn't always driven by someone just wanting to eat a person.
Hunger.
Right, yeah.
Well, actually, that's really interesting, Paul Clarkey, because it actually is more often driven by hunger than it is driven, than by ritualistic or sexual or, other drivers.
Yep.
So
not in Trial by One, it's not.
No.
Not once have we done a story about cannibalism as hunger.
No, true. But you think about those.
Googling it right now.
Who was the rugby team that I hate to say, were they Brazilian?
Oh, in Peru.
Yeah,
they were
the cannibals,
or that they were Peruvian, or it was in Peru where they hit the mountain.
They hit the mountain, and
they had to eat each other. Yeah.
They ate the dead because they were desperate to live.
That's different, isn't it?
No, but it's still cannibalism.
Is it?
Right?
It's still cannibalism.
Yes, it's totally different to what I'm talking about. But Carla's question comes to the heart of motivation. And I think you're right. I think the murder itself was about hating on young girls. I really do think there's a very utilitarian moment, and I'm going to put it down to Isabel, the old lady, who no one talks about much, in that I don't think they were wealthy. I don't think they had much. You've seen photos of the house. I think they were quite poor, and she literally thought, I'm not wasting that. I really think the eating of these people wasn't. There was a bit about we can justify it because it's purification or whatever, but I really do think there's a bit of it saying we can't really afford to buy meat. The selling of the empanadas is actually a very important point. I don't know how much they ate themselves comparative to how much she actually profited from. They're the best pies in London. Why did she go down that path? And I reckon it's because she went, I can make money out of this. This is cheap. This is free meat, and I can go and sell these things. I also dispose of the body, but at the same time, it's very practical in my mind, particularly for Isabel. I don't think Isabel was caught up with the same psychosis as the other two. I think she was probably terrified of them at this point. She was very scared of her husband. Remember that first story about his psychotic attack, and she was terrified of him for a long time. I think she lived in fear, and that might be why she gets slightly less in terms of the sentencing.
This is 2008 though, isn't it?
By the time their sentence is 2019, but it's very recent.
So, but we're talking about the practicality of eating people because you're hungry.
Have you been to Brazil?
No,
I went to Brazil in
I haven't.
2004, and the poverty was staggering.
Yeah, but
I was there in 92.
Eating people, because
I don't think she would have gone out of her way to eat people, right? But it presented itself as an opportunity.
Well, yeah, but I guess what I'm going to say is that I just think that it's hard, and I get what you're trying to say, but I think that most people in Brazil, should they happen to find a dead body in the freezer, wouldn't go, quick, let's eat it because we're poor. And so I understand that there's that practical element, but there's also a criminal element, and there's an element where you are where you probably lack the morals that most people would have to go, you know what, I'm actually going to say someone was murdered last night. I'm not going to go, you're right. There's also a psychotic element, because this whole idea of
we need to purify ourselves from the sin by eating the flesh of our victim.
No, but that was more, what's her name? Not
Yeah, but I think it was
so
Isabel went with
much.
it. So I think she's like, okay, well, fine. We might as well use it up.
Well, if that's the case too, then 100% you're just a criminal, and I'm not copying the poverty line either. I think.
I mean, when I was talking about the poverty line, it wasn't so much they ate because they were hungry. They sold because they could make money out of it. So they made empanadas for other people.
But also you fed human to people who unwittingly ate human because you're just a nasty piece of work.
When I started to do this story, I wanted to do a whole series about people who are unsuspecting cannibals. That was what caught my eye on this, is the idea of people who have eaten people but not been aware that they were eating people.
Can you not do that story?
I think that's really quite funny and fascinating. Anyway. Unsuspecting cannibals.
There's nothing funny about that. There is nothing funny about that.
Anyway.
That actually should be grounds for murder, I reckon. If
I do that story, excuse me.
No, well,
no, we're not going to kill
I'm not
you,
saying
darling.
that necessarily, but yeah, no, definitely not. The story is not the grounds for murder, but I think if you make people eat people,
you should be held accountable. And
therefore,
what's the sentence? Come on.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm not sure because we're not at that point just yet. But Carla,
what do you reckon?
Are you going first?
I don't really know. I definitely want to go back because I always like to go to the motivation. And the thing that upsets me and really annoys me about Georgie, so what we're going to call him, is his total inability to accept the fact that he was, a major part.
You're absolutely right.
That drives me crazy.
I'm innocent.
I didn't know what happened.
I didn't know nothing.
I walked in all of a sudden, all I could see was a flash of a knife and a this, that, and the other, and bingo, it's the next day, and all of a sudden I'm looking in the fridge, but I don't want to ask where the meat's from. It's like, oh, fuck off.
But I bought her a mincer. Yeah.
Yeah, but I bought a mincer, but I don't know what she ever did with it.
That's right.
No, there's a lot of like, I don't know. For someone who's very bright, he seems to be able to pass himself off as very bright. He allows himself to come across as someone who is, I didn't think to ask, or I didn't know.
Innocent.
I mean, he's just,
I know nothing. Yeah, I agree.
He's awful. I really don't like that.
I agree.
I don't like the fact that he holds himself up and says, I'm educated, I'm going to cast judgment on everybody else.
He's a narcissist.
And then when it comes time to be post-meditative, is that the word you use, Clarky? Where he's trying
post-meditation.
Post-meditation. Post-meditative. I like that.
Whatever it is, where he's trying to rewrite it for the sake of him looking better. He's asking us to go, forget that I've told you how clever I was and that I cast, this dispersion on everyone else who I didn't think was bright enough. I couldn't remember that I did that. And then this happened, but I wasn't really involved, or she had the power. It's all very convenient. So he really bugs me. And I think that at the heart of what annoys me the most is the fact that he sees himself as better than other people and in a position where he's able to, carry out these killings because he thinks he's ridding the world of something. I mean, honestly, I'm sure there are better ways than killing. How many people are there in Brazil?
Millions.
It's got a vast population.
Gazillions.
He think, based on his thinking and the ideals that they're working to of ridding the world of overpopulation and, poor, undereducated mothers. I'm not sure that he's made a massive dint on that, given that he was only
too. That is,
I know. All of it is very, for someone who thinks they're educated, it's
I'll admit, I was
so
never
weak.
keen on the prammies in Trowbridge, but you didn't see me going around killing them, eating them.
Because you're not committed.
Pram faces. Do you remember that expression? Pram face?
Yeah. That's very British, isn't it? Isn't that like when they used to have their hair pulled back
really severely, or they're pushing their little pusher and they're 16 years old? Yep. But I wasn't.
Not Vicky Pollard.
Pretty much Vicky Pollard with a baby, yeah. But we didn't.
Correct.
But we didn't kill them and eat them. Yeah.
No. So
opportunity gone begging.
Yeah, I know. My mistake.
Could have saved a fortune on buying meat at Tesco's.
Iceland, which was horse meat, of course. Never mind.
I think Georgie.
Not
Georgie.
Giorgio Armani now.
Giorgio.
I think Gary.
Gary.
I think I can't even say it.
Georgie. Yeah.
Georgie.
It's Georgie.
I'm going to send him directly to trial by Wine World and he's going to take up a post in Peasant World, and he's going to be the lowest of the low, and no people are going to look at him as if he is an uneducated, poor person of no significance, because I think that through his own sense of, I don't think entitlement's the right word, but there must be something in his upbringing that made him feel that he was somewhat superior, that if he felt that people looked down upon him, I think that would be something that he would really struggle with, and where he can't hurt anybody. He's just, a loser, basically, and he knows, more importantly, because I don't think that being in that situation is something that you can judge, but I want him to feel that, where he has no power, no influence, no sense of being able to move above his station. He is just the lowest of the low. Sorry, I know that'll disappoint you hugely, Clarky.
Could we you? Could he have a profession like a shit carder, like back in the day, where
bring out your dead?
Oh my God!
Or empty
The other day I was saying that I was looking
fun.
at like really horrible really horrible punishments.
Occupations.
And then I was looking at really bad occupations, and one of them was I can't remember the name of
a
it.
shit carder.
Exactly, the shit carder. And I was like,
There you
because
go.
I was thinking
We'll leave
about that.
those in Peasant
I was
World.
thinking about that as a sentence. So go for it.
Yeah.
What was it? There was one that's a really common name, like Fuller or something, and they're the people who stand in the piss, and they put piss in. They treat wool with urine or something to treat the wool.
You're on your own.
Oh my God!
I'm pretty sure
Where do you find this stuff?
The internet.
in her witchcraft book.
The internet.
Her
It's
cannibalism volume.
It's my Cert 3 in Google.
It is. It's my cert. The University of Google, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Yeah, I love you. I really do.
Nice one. I also, Swanee, could we add to that the fact that he has to give birth to a child every day who is then also stolen from him? And I know that's not a real thing because he's a he, but I just feel like if you went through the pain of childbirth every day only to have it stolen from him because he's a poor,
narcissist,
uneducated, might just add a bit of fun to his day in Trial by Wine.
Absolutely, keep him
Or
busy.
to mine.
To yours, yes. Sure.
Nice. Okay, good one.
Your turn.
This is one of those things, and Schmidty, I'm very mindful of how we often talk about faith and religion, and I love your faith, but it's funny how people, when something is written down, they believe it as fact, and this whole thing about the book that says that if you kill someone and then eat them, it's okay. Like that sort of stuff, I just can't tolerate. I really can't.
Just before you go on, have I talked to you about when I did anthropology? And one of the really interesting things about it was they were talking about this strange tribe in somewhere or other who use pig bristles, and they rub them up and down on their teeth, and they do blah blah blah. And at the end of it, it turned out that they were actually just talking about people brushing their teeth.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is that brushing your teeth?
But it was intended to say, if you put it in the context of other people doing weird shit, that we find it very hard to accept. So just before you go on and talk about things that people believe when they read it, people believe all sorts of shit on Facebook. They believe all sorts of shit in science books that have been proven wrong over time as well. So it's not just about faith. People believe stuff. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that the human condition is to believe things to our detriment.
I agree. So my point is less about faith and more about Bible, or like once you write something down,
the written word,
it has
a power,
a life of its own.
It has a power,
and people then start to believe it. And through way too many of these stories have we heard of people who knowingly do the wrong thing and go, oh yeah, but, or if I do blah blah blah, because they almost have a way out. This whole thing of justifying your behavior because you read it somewhere, I think, is not okay, because never anywhere in the real world do people read things that say you can kill people, and then if you eat them, that's cool. And I get that these people manage to read it, but I'm not okay with it. That's the context behind my sentence. So I'm calling bullshit on the whole fucking lot of it. I think that Isabel is less guilty than the other two.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Why?
because
She made the
I do-
empanadas and sold them.
Well, no. I like, she didn't do the killing, and she didn't do the influencing around the killing.
So I think you're probably right. Yeah.
I think she was probably one removed, albeit in with the whole thing, one removed from the real problem. And possibly had she not met the other two, maybe wouldn't have done what she did. And now I'm taking a bit of trial by wine license there, because she might have met someone else and done the same thing. So my punishment is, I think we've all heard of the Human Centipede, and
Oh, God.
I've never seen it, and I will not ever watch it. But Isabel is going to have to, so in trial by wine world, because there does need to be a little bit of suspension of reality here, every day Isabel is going to wake up and cut the legs off Georgie and what's her name? Bruna.
Yeah.
And cook them up into empanadas and then sew them together, ass to mouth, like what happens in that movie. And then she's going to have to feed one of them the empanadas made from their legs, and they're going to pass through the system. And once they've passed through the system, then the cycle starts again. So the next morning, Isabel wakes up and does the same thing, but they pass the other way through the system. And that can just be their eternity, because happy days, you can rid yourselves of all of the sins because you're eating empanadas made from people. That's what I've got.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm a bit with Bonnie. I'm kind of in the. We went to Peasant World, yeah. I'm kind of in the Peasant world. I kind of feel like Georgie needs to be the village idiot, so
Yeah.
maybe be struck mute and so unable to influence anyone. He can hear the voices in his head all he likes, but maybe we'll give him a club foot so it's harder to run around and kill people.
Yes.
I might also make him a fuller, because I was right, because the fuller's job was to place freshly woven lengths of wool cloth into a tub, pour in stale urine, and then stomp on it with his feet. So we'll make him a bit of a useful person in this world. And
Can you cobble him as well?
I've done that with giving him a club foot, so I feel like he's a bit
Yep.
cobbled.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
is it animal urine or
It's
human
urine, I believe. It's the best kind.
Oh, bless
Yeah.
you.
Well, it's all a sustainable world. We're very, very
It's the
green.
best
We're
kind.
very green
We're so
in
strict.
trial by wine.
We are very
We are
green.
totally.
We're very green in legal fact in trial by one world.
Now, for the other ladies, I think I'm just going to give them a diet problem. So I think they have to eat empanadas, and I think their empanadas probably should be filled with,
Long pig.
I was thinking more like feces and
Oh,
That's-
Jeez.
that's
I think
harsh.
Good.
no,
That's a little bit along my my punishment then.
Yeah.
It's like here's a combo of our
yeah, I'm thinking just filth, like really, like off
You're just serious.
off stuff, feces, whatever. But because I'm kind, I think they can wash it down with a nice big glass of Baileys and Madeira mixed together, nicely curdled, and they can knock that back while they enjoy
Is
their.
that shit you were drinking
Yes.
the other day?
No, that's the shit that I gave my nieces and nephews by mistake, and they've never let me forget it. So yes, bad curdled Baileys with Madeira, and a bit of empanadas with poos, and old
Booze.
poo-filled
I love
empanadas,
that.
and old mate out there in Peasant World having a grand old time. So I think that does the job. I mean, to be fair, the actual justice system has kept them safe, kept them away from the rest of society, and I think that's okay too.
It hasn't done its bit for Bruna, who thinks that she's getting out. Like, she just needs
She'd cray
I don't know, a fucking good dose of reality.
She'd be cray.
Yeah, but I'm not. I want more than that.
All right. Well, okay. Well, then you can stew on Bruna, but I'm
Literally.
pretty comfortable with you turning her into a human centipede. I mean, that's pretty harsh. So
Yeah, no, I'm cool with that too.
we'll
Yeah,
leave
yeah.
that go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for listening. I know it was a bit gross at times, but cannibalism is like that.
But thanks for the post warning.
No.
Post meditation
It
warning.
was all about getting your reactions, especially when I was
nearly
like,
vomited a
and
couple
then when
of
the
times.
blood splurted out of her
Gross.
neck, and you both went, "Whoa!"
Whoa, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I read worse, but I kept it out. But I've got more cannibals to come because I want to live like
I think you did quite a good job,
cannibals.
actually. I think you
Cannibals.
because at the outset I thought I'm not going to be able to cope with this, but I think you managed to keep the gore kind of out of it in a way.
It wasn't a
And
great
you knew
deal of
that people were
gore. No. It was more about the psychological profile of the three people involved,
Correct,
and it
yeah.
was less about the sensationalism of what happened to their
Yeah.
victims. Because
Thank you.
that was gross. It was gross.
Do you remember it,
No.
Schmidty, or not? Your face looks blank.
Incredible.
No, don't know it.
She's too young
She's too young.
to me.
No, don't know it.
It's incredible.
I'm sure it is.
It's total Coelho. Sorry.
I wonder
Copyright
if
problem.
I wonder what that is like if you eat a cannibal. Do you think cannibals eat clowns or do they taste funny? Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening to that. Carla, you look repulsed. As I say,
Thank you.
miss you
Well done, Schmidty.
already.
Great story.
No worries.
Well played, darling. Love you
Yeah,
long
bye,
time.
bye.
And special thanks to Regina.
Yeah, thank you, Reggie.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thanks,
Bye.
Reg.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website, www.trialbywine.com, to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.
Thanks again for listening to True Crime by Indie Drop-In. If you would like your show featured, reach out to us at Indie Drop-In on all social media or go to indiedropin.com. See you next time.